In 1966, a world-renowned scientist published a book with information so dangerous that the CIA instantly classified it as top secret. For 60 years, this document remained hidden in the deepest archives of the United States government. The original book had 284 pages, but when it was finally declassified a few years ago, the CIA only released 57 pages. And those pages, in their own words, had been sanitized. What kind of devastating information did this book contain that the government thought it necessary to hide it from the world for more than half a century? Why does the CIA still refuse to reveal the remaining pages? The answer, dear subscribers, is going to terrify you. Because the man who wrote this book not only describes the end of the world as we know it, but also claims to have evidence that it has already happened before. 5 times. Stay with me, and I will reveal to you all the secrets of the most dangerous book ever written. The catastrophic cycles that have destroyed entire civilizations, and the signs that indicate the next apocalypse could be closer than you think. And don't even think about missing the end, because the final predictions will keep you up at night. I am El Documentalista, and this is the CIA's forbidden book that predicts the end of the world. First of all, I have to thank my source inside the declassified government archives, whom I'll refer to as the informant, who for 30 years had access to documents that should never have seen the light of day. The author of this explosive book was Dr. Chan Thomas, an electrical engineer who worked for McDonnell Douglas on top-secret projects related to anti-gravity technology and unexplained phenomena. Thomas was not a science fiction writer. He was a serious scientist with access to declassified information. The book was titled The Adam and Eve Story, and although the title sounds innocent, its content is anything but that. Thomas was not talking about religion. He was talking about the literal end of our civilization. Imagine the moment when a scientist with impeccable credentials sits down to write something like, with a roar so low that it is inaudible, then growing into a thunderous roar. The earthquake begins, but it's unlike any earthquake in history. Thomas vividly details what we will experience during the polar shift.
In California, the mountains shake like ferns in the breeze. The mighty Pacific retreats and builds up into a mountain of seawater over 3 kilometers high. Then it begins its race to the east.
But here comes the truly terrifying part. Thomas explains that this is not science fiction. According to him, these cataclysms occur in regular cycles. Currently, we are the 6th advanced civilization to evolve on Earth. The previous 5 were completely annihilated. His evidence? Every culture on the planet has a flood myth. Christians have Noah's flood. The Mayans talk about the flood of Ayokokab, which is where the word hurricane comes from. The ancient Hawaiians have the new flood. The Sumerians wrote about the flood in Gilgamesh, and so on. Thomas argues, 1 myth is folklore, 2 myths are coincidence, but 40 flood myths from cultures that never knew each other. That starts to look less like a myth and more like real history. But Dr. Thomas goes further. He provides specific dates. He says that the last great flood didn't happen 11,500 years ago, as conventional scientists claim, but just 6,500 years ago. And here's the incredible part. Pay attention. In recent years, archaeologists have found evidence of massive floods in China and the Mediterranean dating exactly from that time. Thomas also provides the dates of other cataclysms: 11,500 years ago, 18,500 years ago, 29,000 years ago, and 43,800 years ago. Each of these periods coincides with documented mass extinctions and geological changes. But how does this process work? Thomas says there are two molten layers inside the Earth, with the key one being a thin layer starting 96 kilometers below the surface. Normally, this layer acts as a solid because of the planet's magnetic and the electrical structure. But every few thousand years, says Thomas, the magnetic and electrical structure of the interior becomes disorganized to the point where the surface molten layer acts as a free liquid, then serving as a lubricant so that the polar caps drag the Earth's crust around the planet's interior. In simple terms, the weight of the ice caps causes the entire Earth's crust to slide like the peel of an orange, repositioning the continents in a matter of hours. When this happens, Thomas says there will be horror.
The Earth's atmosphere and oceans don't move with the crust. They just keep rotating from west to east. And at the equator, that speed is about 1,600 kilometers per hour. So, while the crust moves, the winds and oceans keep going east, blowing and flooding the Earth at supersonic speeds.
Imagine a wall of water 3 kilometers high, moving at the speed of sound, sweeping everything away. Along with everything, the skyscrapers. They would collapse. Millions of people would be thrown around like in a blender. Very few people would survive, and the survivors would be the unfortunate ones. Thomas continues saying,
In less than a day, every trace of civilization will disappear. The great cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Dallas, New York, Boston, are nothing but legends. Barely a stone remains where millions walked just a few hours before.
But there is more disturbing evidence. Thomas says that when the change occurs, one side of Earth gets extremely hot while the other becomes extremely cold. A temperature drop of 100 degrees means that even the warmest parts of the planet will be at 44 degrees below zero. Everything will freeze in 4 hours. And here is the proof. They have found woolly mammoths instantly frozen with fresh flowers in their mouths. To completely freeze a mammoth, you would need extreme conditions that only a catastrophic polar shift could create. Do you want to know when Thomas predicted the next cataclysm would happen? Let me know in the comments if you think we're already seeing the signs. Thomas makes a chilling prediction. He says that the magnetic poles are already moving, and this is a sign that the next change is approaching. And he's right. In the 1990s, the magnetic North Pole was moving at 9 meters per year. Today, dear subscribers, it moves almost 40 meters per year and it's accelerating. Also, Earth's magnetic field is weakening quickly. Scientists update the global positioning system every 6 months to compensate for these changes. These are exactly the signs that Thomas said would happen before the big change. But perhaps the most disturbing evidence comes from the recent earthquakes. NASA confirmed that the great earthquake in Indonesia in 2004 shifted the North Pole 25 centimeters to the east and sped up the Earth's rotation, shortening the day by 27 microseconds. In 2010, an earthquake in Chile did the same, and in Japan the following year, it happened again. Thomas wrote about this decades before it happened. Seismic activity is one of the reasons why the Earth's axis shifts. But what about the evidence of lost civilizations? Thomas claims that each great flood destroyed an advanced civilization. Mainstream archaeology says that the first civilization emerged in Mesopotamia 6,500 years ago. Ha ha ha. But what if that was just the last time we reset? Look at the erosion around the base of the Great Sphinx. We see patterns formed by running water, vast amounts of water moving at tremendous speeds. If this erosion is caused by water, it means the Sphinx was created before the last flood, 6,500 years ago, that is, before the rise of Egyptian civilization. Thomas. Of course, And as you are surely already imagining, he is talking about Atlantis. Until definitive evidence is found, it will continue to be considered a mythical land. But there is a geological feature in northeastern Africa called the Rhesus structure, also known as the Eye of the Sahara. It has the right size and shape to be in Atlantis. Plato described the city as concentric rings, with a waterway and near the Eye of the Sahara. And all over the planet, you'll see large waves in the landscape. On the ground, they look like rolling hills, but they're actually 15 meters high and were caused by water, a lot of water. On the other side of the world, we have evidence of another lost continent, Mu. This Pacific civilization supposedly stretched from Hawaii in the north to Easter Island in the south, and almost to the islands of Japan to the west. The Yonaguni Monument, off the coast of Japan, is said to be the underwater ruins of Mu. Nan Madol in Micronesia is considered the southern part of Mu. The site is filled with structures made of huge logs of volcanic rock. No one knows yet who built this or how. And then there's Easter Island with its Moai statues. Most people don't realize that these statues have bodies buried deep underground. There are two options. Whoever built the statues first dug holes, buried the 9-meter-tall 80-ton statues up to their necks, and then filled the holes back in. Oh, the statues were completely above ground, but they were buried by something. Thomas updated his prediction in 1993, saying that the change would happen in 7 years around the year 2000. Obviously that didn't happen, but he mentioned that Nostradamus and Edgar Cayce made the same prediction. Now, should I be honest with you? After extensive research, there are problems with some of Thomas's claims. For example, ice cores from East Antarctica show that it has been covered with ice for at least 1.5 million years. Not the few thousand years that Thomas suggests. Furthermore, when Thomas released an expanded version of the book in 1993, he didn't make any corrections or provide new evidence. Instead, he added chapters about extrasensory perception, UFOs, and angels. It doesn't sound very scientific, however. Some of his claims have turned out to be possible. We know that global floods have happened. The evidence is everywhere. We know that the magnetic poles reverse regularly. It has happened hundreds of times. On average, the time between changes is about 300,000 years, but we haven't had a change in almost 800,000 years, which means we're way overdue. Someone must be saying a lot of prayers. Oh, we're definitely on the verge of a big change. What does this mean? Well, when the next magnetic pole shift happens, animals that navigate using geomagnetism will be confused, but they'll figure it out within a generation. The geological record shows no mass extinctions during pole shifts, and our species has survived several in the past 3 million years. But our ancestors didn't have satellites, global positioning system, or airplanes. A lot of our technology will go haywire. The real danger lies in the period between shifts. When we approach a polar shift, the Earth's magnetic field becomes tangled and extremely weak. This leaves us vulnerable to solar activity, solar winds, storms, coronal mass ejections. If our magnetic field fails to protect us, satellites will get fried, cancer rates will rise dramatically, and the weather will become very unpredictable. But the greatest danger is to our power grids. A high enough solar activity could knock out all electricity on Earth for days, weeks, maybe even months. In some places, saying there will be civil unrest is an understatement, so we should panic. Thomas made some predictions that turned out to be correct decades later. The poles are moving faster, the magnetic field is weakening, and earthquakes are affecting the Earth's rotation. But he also made claims lacking solid scientific support. His theory about the molten layers, which become liquid, doesn't explain how or why it happens. His dates for past civilizations are speculative. What we do know is this: the Earth has experienced cataclysms before. Species have gone extinct, continents have shifted, the climate has changed dramatically, and human activity is not helping to make our planet more stable. Thomas ends his book with a warning: Cataclysm.
He has done his job and throws the few who survive into a new Stone Age. We join Noah, Adam and Eve, Atlantis, Mu and Olympus.
Is it possible that we are the sixth advanced civilization on Earth, and that the previous five were completely wiped out? That we are seeing the signs of the next reset? The evidence is disturbing, the predictions are terrifying, and the current signs are impossible to ignore. Let me know in the comments, do you think Thomas was right? Are we seeing the signs of the next global cataclysm, or is all of this just a terrifying coincidence? One thing is certain: when a book is so dangerous that the government keeps it classified for 60 years, and when the predictions from that book start coming true decades later, maybe it's time to pay attention, because if Thomas was even partially right, our time is running out, and the next time the Earth decides to reset itself, we might not be prepared to survive. If you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed researching it, subscribe, share, and leave your theories in the comments. There are more secrets to reveal, more mysteries to unravel, and more truths that the world needs to know. I'm El Documentalista, and this was the CIA's forbidden book that predicts the end of the world.
The air cuts, it hurts as you walk. The earth opens, another failure, the rain falls. Was fear low and calm? There's no one who escapes or who waits. The world spins without reason, creation collapses. The seas break boundaries, the truth is no longer expected. The sun punishes relentlessly, skin breaks in the cause. And you who denied the sign, today you see the design fulfilled. Everything has. Who escapes or who waits? The world turns without reason, creation collapses. And the sign, with a voice that time has sealed. Joke, creation collapses. And I pursue virtue. I work in the shadows to serve the light.